G'day guys, how you going? Aussie Crasher here. It is that time of the week again. I am reviewing one of my races from last season. This one, in the scheme of things, is the second race in Pra Loup, France, up in the French Alps. Actually, this is the LCQ race, so this is the last chance qualifier for me to make it into the finals for the event. Quick background, this track was situated in Pra Loup, in the French Alps. It is the most beautiful track we raced this season, and it is up there with one of the most beautiful tracks we've ever raced. The view from the start ramp was absolutely insane. Just the Alps in the back, the track menacingly in front of us. This was one of the faster and steeper tracks of the season, and it really took no prisoners. It was an interesting race on this one because throughout the weekend, the track actually evolved. So we had some warm weather, which limited some of the obstacles on the track and also limited some lines on the track. So over the weekend, the organizers did a fantastic job at mitigating the heat problems by protecting the track where it needed to be and also being fluid in what the track could be. I know obviously when they design a track, they know how they want it to run and how they want it to race, but the organizers for this event did a fantastic job with actually being fluid with the conditions as it happened, and yeah, it ended up being some fantastic racing in all levels. So this one I'm going to be reviewing my LCQ race. It was a 3-man heat to make it through to the finals, and we will start from in the start ramp. So right out of the gate, you drop into a bit of a quarter pipe, and then if you can get some strides in, get some strides in, or just coast it because you're hitting speed pretty quick on this. You can see we're actually starting on rubber mats here. It makes it a bit easier on some tracks to use a rubber mat. They did well on this. I have raced on rubber mats before where they slip out from underneath you. But again, these guys are experienced racers that did the organizing for the track. Good start ramp and an interesting start ramp. Very good for beginners, I feel. It's scary if this was your first time on a start because it is a bit of a drop. It's like a foot drop. And if you hadn't done this before, it'd be terrifying. I really loved it. So my game plan for this race, as it was LCQs, I only needed to finish first or second to make it through to the finals. I was stressed about coming third. Again, this track is unpredictable. I could have easily messed this up, and I'd fallen a couple practice runs before this. So the plan was to go easy, don't battle too much, don't take anyone out. Make sure I get my second place at the worst case scenario, and I was through to the finals. So drop in, no strides here. I just wanted to make sure I got down because an unfortunate thing with this sort of track is it's quite easy to click skates with the guys next to you and then you're both stumbling or one of you go down. So the Italian skater actually came out of the gate quick. There's one thing I know I'm bad at in this sport, and it's getting out of the gate. I don't know if it's reactions or just a lack of power from a standstill, but something I've got to work on, and I've been trying to work on the last couple off seasons, but it just hasn't really played out. It's quite hard. Not having any trainers or anything to help on that. So I'm really just trying to do what I think feels right. And sometimes it's unfortunately not the right approach, but we'll keep pushing because I know if I can get quick out of the gates, I'll be a much faster racer. So it's one of the things on my bucket list of my ice cross career to make sure I get good at before I finish this one. So over here, we end up over the coming over the floater. Nice jump from Andrew there. He just sailed that perfectly. I was happy with my landing. I took my gate because of this corner coming up here. So I knew if I took the left-hand gate, I'd have the inside here and then also have a really nice line into this next chicane section. This chicane section was steep, fast, and the ice was getting torn up real quick. So easy to lose an edge and take yourself out of the race. A bit of a drift into the corner. Just try not to wipe off too much speed because you can actually put yourself in a bad situation because this track is fast enough where you don't really end up striding on a lot of these sections. Through the corners, I ended up taking the pass on the Italian rider just purely by outbraking and not wiping as much speed off through those chicanes. So after the chicanes, we have what was going to be a tabletop, but the top of it unfortunately melted. They ended up putting the race line further down the track, which was actually perfect for this track because the speed you were hitting this tabletop at, I think the top of that tabletop would have been a bit narrow and it would have taken a few bodies out, definitely overshot that. So coming up into this tabletop here, my plan was just get a nice launch, pump the exit, and just make sure I stay in my position, and then don't do anything stupid. Pumped it real well. Actually ended up gaining speed onto Andrew there, and then this next section's quite tight because they hadn't widened out the chicane yet. So I actually ended up braking a little bit just to stay behind. I knew second was a safe transfer spot for me, so I wasn't upset with being second in this heat. So I braked a little bit to make sure I stayed behind and didn't try battle too hard for that first position, because with an LCQ, you're only wanting to make sure you get that transfer point. You don't really gain that much by coming first. So I just wanted to make sure we both got through and we both stayed on our feet. So one line through that chicane there and over those doubles. The doubles were quite tricky. They did bite me in the ass over the weekend a couple times, and it does not feel good. And then, yeah, Andrew pulls away a little bit, but I knew I was feeling good in this last corner. This is probably I have to say, one of the best corners I've ever skated in ice cross. The way it's been designed and the shape of it was fantastic for racing. You could take multiple lines, you can run it high, run it low, get speed, and you could just feel the G-forces kind of push you into the track as you made it around the corner. So I knew at this point, it didn't matter if I was coming first or second, I knew I was making it through to the LCQ. And yeah, it was a fun little battle, so I thought I'd see what I could do. Skate around, just kind of tuck and pump into it, and then just gain all the momentum on Andrew here. A good little battle for the finish line. So I gained a lot of speed in that last corner, so I thought it'd be good to try battle for the first place on the finish line here. Andrew actually ended up coming across my line I was going to skate. I was going to try skate the far right side track and shorten my distance to the finish line. But as you can see, he starts to cut over my line, so I had to react to that one. Ended up stepping one lane to the left, and then it was just a mad scramble to the finish line. It was honestly a bee's dick in it. Andrew ended up winning this heat by an inch from the finish line referee. As you can see at this point, he is nailed in to those skates to see who comes first. Those eyes are like lasers right now. But unfortunately, I ended up coming second, and a bit of a tangle with Andrew after the finish line because we were quite close and obviously sliding into the finish line. So in this situation, when you're sliding, you've got to make sure your skates stay away from any soft body parts, and you're pretty good. It was a great race with Andrew for the first and second place there, and I was happy with the result, happy with how I raced, and it was, yeah, probably one of my closest LCQs I've ever competed in. Can't say much more about that. This track was fast, it was technical, and it made sure like you have to rely a lot on your edges on your skates. This was my LCQ review. And the next one, I will run through my round of 32 in the final. Please like, subscribe for anything you want to see for my review of my seasons. And any questions you have about ice cross or downhill ice skating, please feel free to put them in the comments and I will check them all.